All right, how we doing, everybody? Welcome to this episode of the PrimeTime Patriots podcast. Jake Mott, not alongside Ryan Matson. Ryan couldn't make it this week, so we got our good friend Zak Ramos in. He's going to be filling in. Should be a good pod, so we'll jump right into it. Patriots beating the Browns 45-7. Just a huge statement win. Got the whole NFL talking. Offensive showcase, defensive showcase. What stood out to you?
Honestly, I think what stood out to me is it's still how Mac Jones is playing. He's playing pretty good the past couple of weeks. I think he's really found his edge with that offense. I think they've kind of simpled it down for him too. They don't expect too much out of him, but they expect him to go in and get the job done.
Absolutely,
So
yeah.
That's really stood out to me.
Yeah, they're learning how to use him. For me, it was the O-line, man. They looked really nice.
Yeah, Stevenson looked good.
Really good.
Yeah, he looked good. I feel like if he's been healthy all year and he got some of the carries Damian Harris has been getting, he honestly could probably be better than Damian Harris.
Exactly. I think a lot of the weeks so far, the Sony Michel trade from earlier in the season has looked bad, but I think this was the first week where you could really feel good about it. This was the kind of back that you thought Stevenson could be. And you really haven't seen it this year. Started early with he had the fumble and he got blown up in coverage and stuff. Now he's definitely starting to round out. And I think the O-line, like I said, a huge part in that. They protected Mac a lot this game, too.
Yeah, they're keeping him pretty, for the most part, pretty clean all year. They haven't really had, a lot of issues. I know he got sacked a couple of times, but it feels like some of them, too, he's just taking, bad sacks. But, that's just kind of, comes with it. It's growing pains as a rookie.
Absolutely. And biggest thing for them offensively, one of the biggest things, third down, they killed it. They were 7-9. Bunch of big drives. They had 30 first downs.
That's crazy.
And 3 for 90+, that's impressive stuff.
Yeah, honestly, if you can keep the game going with 7 first downs on third down, you should win the game. You shouldn't lose the game with being 7 of 9 on third down conversions.
Absolutely.
Find it very hard to lose if you're doing that on third down.
Yeah, definitely. You touched on Mac, too, so I'll hop back to him a little bit. 19 of 23 on the day, 198 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks. Didn't hit that 200-yard mark, but when it's that efficient, when he makes those...
Can't complain with it.
Exactly. He made 5 or 6 really good top-of-the-line throws.
The one he threw to Bourne was... That one kind of surprised me. I didn't think he had it in him to convert on a pass like that.
Yeah, we hear Rex Ryan always calling him the pea shooter. People say he doesn't have the arm strength, but definitely rifled it in there.
He gunned that one in there. I was honestly more surprised Bourne caught it. I didn't think he was going to make a play like that, but then he did, so
Absolutely. He's a guy, too. He's been stepping up these past few weeks, making a real impact. I think still the two caveats, or the two people that we really haven't seen live up to what they were supposed to be, has been Jonnu and Nelson Aguilar. I'd say less so with Nelson. I always kind of figured he'd be more of a decoy anyway. So I think he is doing that role at least well enough, but I think those are the two guys that are clearly underperforming offensively.
I think for Jonnu, it's more of a trying to get the ball to him. I feel like they're struggling to find ways to get him the ball. Tennessee last year would line him up in the backfield and hand him the ball. I think once they can start doing that and he can start figuring out where he's going to be in the offense, whether they split him out wide, they put him in the slot, line him up at tight end, just find a way to get the guy the ball, and I don't think they'll have any problems, honestly.
Yeah, I agree. Especially, he's been popping. He's going to have to start popping. My bad. And we saw that with him. It took him a few years. He really wasn't a huge factor until that last year. Until that last year in Tennessee. So that's kind of a big piece. They need to learn how to use him, and I think that's what we're seeing. We're seeing Josh McDaniels. Heard a lot about this in the media and stuff. We're seeing him understand these players and what they can and can't do, and he's putting them in positions to succeed, especially Mac. So,
I agree. I think a big thing is too they can revert to what they did pre Cam Newton. So it helps everybody else look better than last year. You don't have to rely as much on your quarterback to make plays if you put the right guys around him. Because I know they really like the 2 tight end set, and they weren't able to do that the past 2 or 3 years just because of the talent they've had at tight end. So I think moving away from the mobile quarterback and trying to do all the QB runs that they were trying to do last year it's helped them. You can see they have a better record than they did at this point last year, and I think that's just because they knew what they wanted in Mac, and they knew that he was the guy for them to run their offense the way it had been run for 20-something years with Brady.
Absolutely, yeah. You're seeing that same kind of stat that you saw all the time when Brady was here, where he completes like 12 passes or something, and it's like to 6 different players.
Yeah.
Like, so they're definitely spreading it out. They're trying to get it in as many people's hands as possible, keep the defense guessing. And again, I know we touched on it right in the beginning, but the O-line, man, this was a powerful front seven. They got a lot of pressure on the quarterback all season. Averaged 3 sacks a game, which was good for second in the league.
Yeah, well, when you get a guy like Myles Garrett, and then you have Clowney on the other side, and even inside they have Malik Jackson, who's been with was with the Broncos the year they went to the Super Bowl and lit up Cam Newton. Mm-hmm. So I mean, when you have guys like that up front, it's hard to stop. And obviously Belichick did his film study and knew what he had to do this week.
Absolutely. So we'll hop over bottom line I had for the offense was, I think this is what this offense really can look like when the O-line is performing as well as we thought. Because going in, I thought it was going to be a top 5 unit in the whole NFL. I really did. And the names were all still there, and there was no real injuries, but they just weren't performing. These past 3 weeks in particular, I think we've really seen them step up, find the kind of guys that work for them best. Karras has been up there a lot now. He was a guy who was sitting in the beginning, so they're finding out who works where, who to sub in, and stuff like that. The O-line's working.
I agree, and I think, honestly, once Trent Brown can finally figure it out and become healthy, you already know what he's going to bring to the table. It's now more of a trying to get him at that point.
Absolutely, yeah. Health is always the thing for him. He looked really good this week against Clowney, for sure. He shut him up. So, hopping over to the defensive side of the ball, after the first touchdown drive, basically perfect. I mean, they did everything they had to. Biggest thing for me was 1 for 11 on third down.
And even on that first touchdown drive, Cleveland lucked out. There was a drop pass in the end zone that would have been an interception.
Yep.
So, and I feel like that's been the Patriots' thing all year. Like, if their defense can get going, then their offense will follow suit. If their defense is letting up points and their offense is gonna, come back and trail the entirety of the game, it doesn't really set them up for a good recipe to win the game. You kind of saw that with the Saints game. They got behind quick, and then the offense was trying to trail the entire time. And I don't know if it's the way they run their offense, but I don't think that it's like they're more efficient when they have the lead than they are when they're trailing. I don't think they have like the star power to really take the deep shots that they need to when they're down. They're more of a work your way down the field, grind the clock kind of team, which is why I think when their defense shows up, they're honestly a top 5 team in the league. Yeah. When their defense shows up, and we've been seeing that the past couple of weeks.
100%, I agree with that. Yeah, they shut Baker down this game. Baker was shade over 50%, but only 73 yards, touchdown and a pick. He got knocked out in about the third by Matt Judon. And Case Keenum actually came in and on 12 attempts threw for more yards than he did. So
that's what Case is going to do for you.
Yeah, they had all the answers for Baker. By the time Case came in, it was 35-point deficit or something like that. So game's over, wrapped up, did what they had to do against the starting QB. Already touched on third down. I really don't think you could script this game any better on both sides of the ball.
Yeah, and honestly, I was surprised by the outcome. I didn't all week you're coming into it. This game it's basically a playoff game. If you lose, you're probably not going to get in. And I was very surprised with how they reacted to it and how their defense came in and said, all right, time to ball, and got the job done.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially after that first touchdown drive, like we said, it was like, all right, here we go.
Yeah,
it's going to be a good game.
It was going to be like a shootout type of game. Even without Chubb, you still, because Dearness Johnson was ripping off a couple of runs that first drive. I know.
Absolutely.
I was sitting there, I was like, this one could be good if they don't figure it out real quick, but obviously they knew what they were doing.
Yeah, it was Ryan. It was Ryan Matson in our chat who said Dearness Johnson, a few minutes into the game, he goes, Dearness Johnson is ripping up the pass right now. So he started hot, and that's what makes his stats even that much more interesting for this game. I think he finished with 99. 50 or 40 of those at least had to come on that first drive. So that means for the rest of the game,
it was kind of shut up.
Yeah, shut him down big time. So I think it's safe to say, I don't think we're making any bold claims here when we say that they should definitely make the playoffs, and I think they have at least a fair chance, not more than 50, but a fair chance of winning the AFC East.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not like it was last year where the Dolphins were good. The Dolphins suck this year, so it doesn't really help. The Jets are the Jets. They're always useless in that division anyways.
Yep.
And even Buffalo lately has been...
Yeah, lost to Jacksonville.
Yeah, they've been kind of shaky. They played I forgot who they played this week.
I think it was the Jets, but I mean,
yeah,
the Jets.
The Jets. They won. I think they won like 45 to like 13 or something. But I mean, you lose to Jacksonville, you gotta really question yourself and what you're doing.
Exactly.
And even like weeks before that, they looked sloppy. I think ever since they beat the Chiefs, they've kind of they've fallen off the course a little bit.
Yeah.
So I mean, if they keep playing the way they do and the Pats keep playing the way they are, I think it's gonna be good come December football.
Absolutely, it should be fun, especially once the weather starts getting cold. I am curious. Don't want to spend too much time on it, but just popped into my head. Question is going to be, we don't know how Mac's going to play in this cold weather.
Yeah,
he's a Florida kid, and then he obviously played all of his college ball. Yeah, exactly. So, curious to see. I think mentally he's there. I've heard he has pretty big hand size for his normal age or normal height or whatever. So that always helps in cold weather situations, but we'll have to see how it works out. I think he can keep it rolling. It's more of a mental thing. More on Josh, I think, to what they can and can't do.
I agree. I just, like I said it earlier, I think Mac Jones is like, when you look at the rookie class, you look at, like, they were getting bashed in the media after they didn't trade up for Fields or, like, trade up for Lance, but, you look at their offense is suited for a guy like Mac Jones. He's not going to run a lot. He's going to do what he needs to do. He's going to be a game manager.
Yep.
And I think that's what they're looking for when they drafted him. You know, obviously, you look at the athleticism of a guy like Fields and Lance, even Wilson and Lawrence.
Absolutely.
They're better athletes than
the ceiling's there.
Yeah, the ceiling's
way bigger
there.
Ceiling. Yep.
But I mean, when it comes down to execution, I hate to say it because I hated Mac Jones coming out, but Mac Jones, he's been the top guy in the class, which I was surprised, but at the same time, coming from Nick Saban, I wasn't really that surprised.
Yeah, definitely. That's been the talk. He just shot up. The race now is basically between him and Jamar Chase.
I saw that this weekend. The Vegas odds went up for the rookie of the year.
Yeah, and it's pretty close with those two right now. And if Mac leads them to the playoffs, or God forbid, an AFC East,
you gotta get him.
It's his. So, quarterback's the most important position. It usually goes to a quarterback, especially when they ball out like this. It was Herbert last year.
Yep.
So yeah, it'll be interesting to see, but honestly, I think the best win of the season so far. I think they balled out. They came out against a team. These last few weeks have been a little shaky. There was the Jets. There was Herbert, who is a great player. Great. The Chargers are a great team overall, but you shut them down, and then you play Darnold, who basically every time you play him, you make him see ghosts.
Yeah, exactly.
So there's a lot of toss up here. This was the one game I said going in. There's no BS with this one. If they win this one, this is a team that people have considered as good for a long time. They have a lot of talent. They're still more talented than you on paper, I would say.
Yeah, no, I would also agree. They outmatch the Patriots everywhere you look at it when you break it down position by position. But it comes down to coaching, comes down to execution. I don't think anybody's better than I hate to say it again, but I don't think anybody's better than the Patriots when it comes to that.
Yeah, 100%. So they get the job done. And all right, I think we are good to hop over to next week. Now we're going to look at the game against the Falcons. All right, so the Patriots this Thursday primetime game on their way to Atlanta to play the Falcons. And the Falcons are 4-5 coming into this game, and they're coming off of a huge blowout loss to Dallas, 43-3. What are your basic thoughts on this Atlanta team?
I feel like Atlanta's in a tricky, tough situation right now. Losing Calvin Ridley was big for him. He's been, even before he opted out or whatever, he took some time off. He wasn't really the impact player we thought he would be with the removal of Julio Jones. I know they've had Pitts out there too, which you would think all right, well, who are you going to cover? But I think Matt Ryan's really. He's trying to find somebody to get the ball to other than Pitts. It's just not working for him. This should be, you look at it on paper, this should be one that the Patriots take care of easily.
Absolutely. I think this one, I think it's a great matchup, both sides of the football for the Patriots. On offense, the Falcons are 25th in both yards and points. And then rushing is where they have a real big issue. They're 29th in the league there. Only get about 83 a game. They are 15th in passing. Patriots are actually 14th. They basically have the same. Falcons throw for 241. Pats throw for 242. So Mac Jones better than Matt Ryan. But Anyways, yeah, I think that makes the game plan pretty simple for the Patriots defensively, at least. Their receivers are pretty buns. I mean, their number one is Gage.
Yeah, Gage is a key. So
yeah,
we're both...
and he's not a bad guy, but he's a 2 or 3 guy at best.
Exactly.
So he's playing out of position, and even though even because of that, they're pass heavy. So what I would do, I would just combo cover Pitts here and there. I think Pitts is still he's very special. He's super athletic. It is still his first year, though. I think you could take a guy like Duggar on 50% of the snaps and just say go at him. Yeah, and I don't think he's going to kill you.
You need somebody who can obviously keep up with him because he's quick. And he's physical too, which is kind of what makes him good. Mm-hmm. But you need somebody like a safety or like even like a Mike linebacker, but like maybe a converted safety to linebacker, which is why Duggar is kind of like the perfect fit to cover him. And then, at points, I'd say in the red zone, try and double him the best you can because who else is Matt Ryan going to throw to in the red zone? They're either going to run the ball with Cordero Patterson and hope for the best, or Mike Davis is a bum, so I don't see them giving him the ball. So I mean, like in the red zone, it's kind of pick your poison there. You can either try to stop Pitts or just hope Matt Ryan throws to one of the other dudes who are just kind of useless out there.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that. Yeah, I've been trying to dump Mike Davis for weeks. The guy's a trash can. But either way, so yeah, I think they're going to be able to dial up a lot of blitz and pressures here because you don't need to afford that much respect to the receiving unit. And they're going to pass because they really can't run, like we just said. So I think this is a perfect... We haven't had a lot of games here where, like, the zero blitzes that they were famous for like a couple years ago was really viable. I think this is a game where you can send some zero blitzes at Matt Ryan.
I mean, it's not like Matt Ryan's going to be able to move either.
Yeah.
He's not the mobilest quarterback in the pocket. And Atlanta's O-line isn't really like that special either, which could be part of the reason why their run game is kind of trash. Mm-hmm. And, I mean, you're going to get lucky at some point. His wideouts aren't going to be able to shape the coverage that the Patriots have for the entirety of the game. Maybe you get lucky on a couple of plays here and there, but for the most part, for the entirety of the game, I think the Patriots defense will come to play.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree there. Hopping over to the Falcons defense, they're 22nd in yards, but this is what was very interesting to me. They're actually 29th in points allowed. So not letting up a bunch of yards per se, still bottom half of the league for sure. But in points, they're damn near at the bottom. And what that says to me is they're turning the ball over and giving short fields to the other team, and their special teams is letting up way too much yards.
A lot of punts.
Yeah, exactly. So, like, that's something, again, we talked about this, like, being, like, a perfect fit scheme-wise for the Patriots. If you're giving the Patriots short fields and shooting yourselves in the foot,
yeah, exactly.
That's just not going to work for them. So, 17th in passing and 21st in rushing. That's Falcons' defense. And I was just saying, I think we should pound the rock with Stevenson and hopefully a rejuvenated Damian Harris, who's coming off a concussion, and then no turnovers. And honestly, I think that would be enough considering how powerful your defense has been, and then how often Atlanta shoots themselves in the foot. So.
Yeah, and Mac Jones he's been pretty good with the turnovers this year too. It's not like you look at some of the other like rookie quarterbacks. I know Fields struggled early in his first couple of games. Lawrence sucked in his first 3 games with the turnovers.
Yep.
So I think when you look at it, Mac, he's not going to lose, like, he's not going to win you. He's a game manager. He's not going to lose you a game.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think, which should help them this week against Atlanta, whose defense is pretty much useless when they're out on the field anyways.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing with Mac. I mean, when you look just at the raw stats, there's a fair amount of picks, but it's really, if you look at just the Saints game, for example, he had 3 in that one. One was literally right off of Jonnu's hands, tossed it to the guy, and the other one was in garbage time on like 4th and 15. And there's a few picks that are like that. There's like tips, and I thought the really only horrendous one he's thrown all year was last week to Stephon Gilmore.
Yeah, that was
kind of just put it right to him.
Yeah, that was a hand wrapped gift from
Mac.
From Mac to his former teammate on that one.
Yeah, absolutely. So honestly, besides all that, I really don't think he's been incredibly protective of the football, especially for a rookie. I mean, he's just making all the right decisions, and he's doing them quickly too. That was another thing that I forgot to mention from last week. His like release time in terms of like when he got the ball in his hands to when it was out was like sub 2.5. Like, it was very fast all game. And, like, to be able to make those decisions that quickly, but have them also be the right decisions as a rookie, I think it's very impressive.
And like I said earlier, it helps where you come from when you have those 5-star recruits that you're playing with in college that are getting open that quick. It makes everything easier for you, and when you get to the second level, you got a whole team full of 5 stars. So it's like, I can't really do anything wrong right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're seeing another thing offensively. We're really starting to see, I think, I'll call it a special connection with Hunter Henry.
I was just going to say that Hunter Henry, he's probably been the best free agent signing they've had. I'd say offense and defense.
Ooh, Judon.
I feel like
it's close. You're right.
I feel like Hunter Henry does when the offense isn't there, he's always the guy that Mac Jones is looking at. In the red zone. What is it? He scored in his last 7 games or something.
There was one he missed, but he had 2 this past week. So it's been the past 8 games or something. It's 8 touchdowns,
which is crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm not understating it either. I think it's Pro Bowl season right now.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Right now, if he keeps it up, he's one of the best 5-6 tight ends.
The only problem with the Pro Bowl is it's a popularity contest. So guys like Kittle, who were injured for 6 weeks or whatever it is, are going to get in just based off of their name instead of a guy like Hunter Henry who's actually been playing good, which it hurts for me to say because I'm a Niners fan, but got to be real at some point about it.
Yeah. Eventually, I think if the stats keep piling up, there's going to be no way to keep him out. Not that I've ever considered.
There shouldn't be either.
Yeah.
If the NFL does their job, and if the fans of the NFL do their job in voting for that, but
is it the NBA where execs and other people get some sort of say?
Yeah, so the NBA they do the fan vote, and that's why Taco Fall is always the top fan vote receiver.
Yeah.
But then it doesn't weigh as much as the coaches and the execs all-star vote. As we're in the NFL, the fan vote is literally the entirety of the voting, which is kind of stupid because
kind of buns.
You got guys who are having mediocre seasons, but just because of their name, they're getting into the Pro Bowl.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with that. But yeah, I think that basically wraps it up. Like we said, I think we both feel like this is just, on paper, as close to a good match, a perfect matchup you can really have if you're the Patriots. They're not. This unit is shaky at best. Their best way of scoring is explosive plays and trick plays with Patterson, like we were saying. And those are the things that the Patriots just tend to shut out. They make you, if you beat the Patriots, it's got to be consistency for 60 minutes, and consistency is just the last thing that this Atlanta team does.
Well, yeah, and you look at, that's an offense like Kansas City, 3 years ago when they went into Kansas City for the AFC Championship, they limited the shot plays to Tyreek Hill, and it ended up giving them another Super Bowl berth. So,
yeah, absolutely.
I will say that's probably one of the better things that the Patriots defense has in history has always done. They've shut down the shot plays and the trick plays and all the explosive down the field plays, and it's really they make it a slugfest. They want you to know that their defense is there and that they're going to use that to their best advantage to get the win.
Yeah, absolutely. So, with all that being said, I had the Pats. I put 33-15 in this one. I don't think it's going to be incredibly close. I think definitely over a touchdown win. I just don't see how Atlanta would be able to play consistently. They might keep it close for a while, but I think eventually, unless New England's making mistakes that they haven't made in 5 or 6 weeks, I think they should be able to walk out of here with a decent-sized win.
Yeah, that's the thing with Atlanta. They have been pretty low scoring all year, or their offense has been mediocre the entire year without Calvin Ridley. So it's the 1 week they played was the Saints game, and they ended up getting a win. And especially coming off a loss like you did last week, that's demoralizing. Only scoring 3 points and letting up 40 or 43, whatever it was. But I'd say 28 to 31 to 6. I think. Or maybe 6 or 7. I think they either get 2 field goals or they score a touchdown at least once. But I don't think they do anything else after that. And if they score, it's either early in the game or it's garbage time.
Yeah. All right. I think we're both pretty much on the same page there. So, Patriots should be able to get the win this week. Roll on to 5 in a row. Hopefully, we'll be able to talk with you guys about that next week. Thanks so much for joining us, Jake Mont, Zak Ramos. Ryan should be back next week. See how it goes. Thanks for joining us. Go Pats. See you later.